It's 3 a.m. and you're awake again. You didn't set an alarm, you didn't drink too much coffee. Your eyes just opened in the dark. And now you're lying there, staring at the ceiling, certain that something is wrong with you. But what if nothing is wrong with you at all? What if your body is doing exactly what it was built to do? And it's the modern world that broke the rules. Because for almost the entire history of your species, 300,000 years of it, waking up in the middle of the night was not a malfunction. It was the plan. Every ancestor you have ever had, going back further than farming, further than language as we know it, slept in a way that a modern doctor would write down as a disorder. They didn't sleep for 8 hours in one block, they slept twice. And the reason you stopped, the reason you now lie awake feeling broken at 3 a.m., comes down to a single invention. What they did in the dark hours between their two sleeps changes what a good night's sleep even means. In 2001, a historian named Roger Ekirch published a discovery he had been assembling for years. He'd been digging through centuries of old documents, diaries, court records, prayer manuals, medical textbooks, plays and poems. And buried in all of them, used so casually that everyone had overlooked it, he kept finding the same two phrases. People wrote about their first sleep, and then, later in the night, their second sleep. He found more than 500 of these references, and they didn't stop in the Middle Ages, they ran all the way back to Homer's Odyssey, nearly 3,000 years ago. For most of recorded history, in language after language, people described going to sleep, waking in the dark, and going to sleep again, as the most ordinary thing in the world. And here's the strange part, we had been reading these texts for centuries, and we quietly edited the truth out of them. Translators in the 20th century kept hitting the phrase, first sleep, and unable to imagine that anyone had ever slept differently than we do now, they smoothed it away, rendering it as simply sleep. The evidence was hiding in plain sight. We had rewritten our ancestors' nights to look like our own. So what did the pattern actually look like? People went to bed a couple of hours after dark. They slept for around 4 hours, the first sleep. Then they woke, on their own, into the deepest, quietest part of the night. And they stayed awake, for an hour, sometimes two, but they weren't lying there anxious the way you are right now. This waking hour wasn't a problem to be solved. It had a name, people called it the watch, and it had a purpose. They prayed. They talked softly with whoever shared their bed. They tended the fire. Some slipped out to visit neighbors. One physician's manual even recommended it as the best hour for a couple to conceive a child because they were rested instead of exhausted. And above all, they thought, lying in the dark, turning over their lives, the day behind them and the day ahead. There was one more thing they did in that hour, and it may be the most important. They dreamed, and they remembered. Because they woke directly out of their first sleep, they surfaced straight from the middle of a dream, still vivid, still close. And so people took dreams seriously in a way we no longer do. They interpreted them. They believed they carried meaning. An entire relationship with the dreaming mind, one we have almost completely lost, lived inside that gap between two sleeps. For a long time, this was just history. Fascinating, but soft. Maybe people back then simply had nothing better to do in the dark. And then a scientist proved the pattern was written into the human body itself. In 1992, a psychiatrist named Thomas Wehr at the National Institute of Mental Health ran a now famous experiment. He took 15 healthy, ordinary modern people who slept in one solid block like you, and changed exactly one thing about their lives. He took away artificial light. For a month, he gave them 14 hours of darkness every single night. The length of a winter night, before electricity existed. Nobody told the subjects to sleep any differently, but within about 3 weeks, every one of them had. Their single block of sleep quietly cracked in two. Around 4 hours of sleep, then 1 to 3 hours of calm, quiet wakefulness, then 4 more hours of sleep. The exact pattern Ekirch had found in those dusty diaries, reappearing on its own inside modern bodies the moment the lights went out. It had never left us. It had only been switched off. But Wehr found something stranger still. When he measured his subjects during that middle-of-the-night hour, their bodies were not in any normal waking state. Their levels of a hormone called prolactin were sharply elevated, the same calming hormone that lets a hen sit peacefully over her eggs for hours on end. It is a hormone of deep, still rest. Wehr said the people in that hour were in a state close to meditation, and that is exactly how they described it themselves: calm, peaceful, floating, reflective. Sit with that. There was a third state of consciousness your ancestors passed through every single night. Not asleep, not ordinarily awake, a quiet meditative hour in the dark. And almost no one alive today has ever knowingly felt it. So what took it from us? Not stress, not caffeine, not screens, at least not first. The answer is simpler and older: light. For almost all of human history, when the sun went down, the world went truly dark, and your body used that darkness as a signal. As night falls, your brain releases melatonin, a hormone that whispers one message to every cell: it is night now. Rest. And then, a few hundred years ago, we began erasing the dark. It happened slowly. In the 1600s, cities started lighting their streets. In the 1800s came gas lamps, glowing on corners that had only ever known black. And then, in 1879, Thomas Edison perfected the electric bulb. And within a single generation, we flooded the night. But here is the problem: your body cannot tell the difference between the sun and a light bulb. When light hits your eyes late at night, from a lamp, a television, the phone that may be in your hand right now, your brain reads it as daylight. It holds the melatonin back. It keeps you in daytime for hours after the sun is gone. And nudged later and later, night after night, your two sleeps were squeezed together, compressed, and finally fused into the single 8-hour block we now insist is natural. We know it's the light because you can undo it in about a week. In 2013, researchers took a group of people camping. No phones, no flashlights, no artificial light of any kind, only the sun by day and firelight by night. After just 7 days, their internal clocks had shifted by roughly 2 hours, snapping back toward the ancient rhythm of sunset and sunrise. 200,000 years of programming, still there, still waiting beneath the surface, reasserting itself in a single week in the woods. So here is a thought that might change how you feel at 3 a.m. tonight. Today we have a clinical name for waking in the middle of the night. We call it sleep maintenance insomnia. There are pills for it, apps for it, an entire industry built to make it stop. But what if, for a great many people, it isn't a disorder at all? What if it's the body trying to do the one thing it did every night for 300,000 years, and simply finding nowhere left to put it? Which brings us back to you, lying awake, staring at the ceiling, certain that something is wrong. But what if nothing is? What if that wakefulness in the dark isn't a failure or a symptom, but the seam between your first sleep and your second, the oldest, most human part of your night, trying to open exactly the way it opened for every ancestor you have ever had? People who slept under open sky before there were cities, before there were even words for the things they feared. For 300,000 years, your family had an hour that belonged to no one. No work, no noise, no light. Just the dark, a quiet mind, and a body at rest but awake. An hour to pray, to dream, to think, to simply be. It was the one reliably still moment in a hard and dangerous life. And then we lit the world, and we called it progress. In almost every way it was. But we never quite noticed the small thing we traded away for it, an entire room of human experience, quietly sealed off, a nightly hour of peace your body still remembers and still, on some dark mornings, tries to lead you back toward. Most of us just lie there in the glow of a clock, waiting for it to pass, and call it a problem.